Alyssa, why don't we start first with you? Share a little bit about who you are, who your family is, and a little bit about Isaac.
Okay, Melissa Overland. I am a wife and a mom. I homeschool and have homeschooled 4 children. I'm a science nerd and a book lover. I don't know. We have varied interests at my house, but all 4 of my kids are on the ADHD spectrum. 2 of them have been diagnosed on the autism spectrum, whatever they're calling it these days, Asperger's autism, mild, but very high functioning. One of them has autism and Down syndrome and ADHD, and it's pretty oppositional, that sort of thing. So we got a lot going on at my house.
So tell me about Isaac's inability to read before we started with Brain Harmony, and then share with me the changes since.
Because we homeschool, I had used a curriculum for teaching my older 2 kids to read, and it had gone really well. I loved it. They loved it. I just thought it was fun. I thought everybody might want to teach somebody to read because it was so much fun. But then when I started trying to teach Isaac to read, it just wasn't working. He would stare off into space. I would start to fall asleep because it took so long. It was really very intense and difficult. And I would wonder why he would look at a word and then stare at the ceiling and start guessing, that sort of thing. And I thought I was doing something very wrong, that I thought, well, maybe what worked for the older 2 isn't going to work for this one. So I tried different curriculums. I asked people. I tried a whole lot of different things, and it just wasn't working. Something he would know one day, he wouldn't know the next day. And it was very frustrating for both of us. Mm-hmm. So just kind of on a whim, I was getting really anxious and I was stressed because it was time to start the school year again. And I started realizing I should not be this full of anxiety trying to pick a reading program for a kid who's 8. So I just thought, I'm going to ask my friend, a dyslexia therapist, to just screen him and just see if there might be something going on. At the time, I didn't know dyslexia was hereditary, and even if I had, it wouldn't have helped because I didn't know there was undiagnosed dyslexia on my husband's side of the family, so it was just sort of a fluke thing. I just thought, we'll try this. So we had him screened, and she said, you definitely, you need to get him looked at. He only failed to pass the screener by 1 point. Wow. Because he really had done so much work and had tried so hard for a couple of years. So he almost went undiagnosed. And she said, I think it's really valuable to go ahead and get the full screening done. So we did that. Mm-hmm. And when he did the full screening, they said, yes, he is not only dyslexic, but he has closer to the severe degree range of dyslexia. And she, kids like that, she said, can easily sometimes go undiagnosed because we did work so hard that he learned some techniques and some things, but he was still dyslexic, right? Because we weren't addressing the dyslexia. We were just kind of addressing the, just the reading from a typical reading method. Mm-hmm. So once he was diagnosed, I think we were both kind of relieved because we knew that he knew he wasn't dumb or incapable, which I never thought any of that, but he did. And I knew that I wasn't just a terrible teacher. So he did do some training and some work specifically for dyslexic kids over the 3 years, and he did improve. But after that 3 years was over, I was just thinking, what else can we do? We've got to go somewhere else from here because surely this isn't the best it's going to be.
Right.
And we happened upon you at that time and started working with you, and we've definitely seen progress. I started tracking his progress, as a matter of fact, because I wanted to make sure that I knew that what we're doing is working. Mm-hmm. And it has. I've used a book. For our tracking, we've used a book called Freddie Goes to Florida. It's an old book. I think it was published in the 1920s, maybe. Here's our old beat up copy of Freddie. And so for our recent tracking, we've started on that. I think that one's about a 5.9 reading level, like 5th year, 9 months or something like that, somewhere close to 6th grade level. And I make him read 4 pages at a time aloud, because aloud reading is a little more challenging than just reading to yourself. And when we first started, he was reading 4 pages at a time, and it took him 15 minutes to complete those 4 pages. His most recent record that I did yesterday was 8 minutes and 59 seconds for 4 pages.
Wow.
So that's been huge progress at that grade level. I ask him comprehension questions, and he understands what he's reading. He's relaxed. He's not interrupting me for help nearly as much. I used to have to pause the recording to answer questions and to help with sounding out words and that sort of thing. Now he's, even with assistance, I don't even have to pause the timer anymore, because I can help him so much faster, and he can understand, and he's sounding out words that he's never even heard before. Used to, if it was a word that had not been in his vocabulary, he couldn't, it wasn't going to happen. He might totally go back to guessing because it was just something so new. And now, even if it's a word he's literally never heard, yesterday he was reading about Rochester, New York. He's never heard Rochester. And he was able to figure that one out on his own in such a quick time that I didn't even have time to pause the recording. So that's progress.
Absolutely wonderful. That's fantastic. So it's only been about 2 months since we started this program, and his speed has increased. His ability to comprehend what he's reading has improved. He doesn't stumble over words anymore, and all this is just in 2 months.
Yeah, he's doing so much better. He doesn't even notice how much better he's doing, because he never tracked his reading time, and he never kept track of the disruptions. When he didn't understand words, he would just ask me, and it was all very relaxed. But I have noticed a huge difference, because I'm not getting interrupted every 5 seconds when he's reading.
Right.
And I've also noticed how fast he's going through his books when he's privately reading to himself. And I can ask him comprehension questions about the books that he's reading to himself, and he understands those just as well as he does the ones that he's reading aloud to me. And for me, if I'm reading something aloud, it's a little more difficult for me to comprehend it, because I'm worried about enunciation and, that sort of thing, not letting my eyes read ahead. So in my mind, for him to be able to really fully understand what he's reading aloud is huge.
Yeah.
That's been a harder skill for me, and he's great at it. He does just as well with silent reading as he does reading out loud. So I'm very happy with how it's going. Very happy.
Why don't we start off with you telling me your name and what are some of the favorite things that you like to do?
My name is Isaac, and I like to read, play on my iPad, and take walks, and play chess.
And play chess. Good for you. So tell me, what does it feel like to have dyslexia? What's it like when you try to read?
If you don't know how to read yet, then it just looks like lines on paper.
Okay, so that just doesn't mean anything to you. Before you were able to read, when things just look like lines, how did it make you feel? Was it frustrating?
Frustrated, yes.
Yeah, I can imagine. And so now you've been doing the brain harmony therapy for a couple months now, and your mom says your reading's gotten better. Have you noticed any changes since you've started? Like, are you reading faster?
Yes, I am definitely reading faster. My reading speed has increased by 4 minutes.
Fantastic. All right, wonderful. Well, thanks, Isaac.